Welcome back, everybody, to the North Central Washington MVP series brought to you by Career Connect Washington and the Apple STEM Network. I'm your host, Carrie Horning, Career Connected Learning Specialist with the NCESD 171. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with both Megan Wiebert, Public Information Officer, and Shauna Sonoto, HR Administrator with the Douglas County PUD. Megan and Shauna, welcome in, and thanks for being our most valuable partners this week.
Thanks, Carrie.
You're welcome. Good to have you here. So let me take care of just a few housekeeping items and then we'll get rolling. I'd like to remind everybody that our goal is simple: to introduce our community partners throughout North Central Washington to one another, be it industry, nonprofit, educators and students, or community members with an interest for what's happening around them. Win today basically looks like each of you leaving with a greater understanding of the work that's being done all around North Central Washington. So sit back, grab your lunch, and get ready for an extra dose of professional nourishment. Usually at this point, I'm doing a little bit of a quick introduction. However, we have so much terrific information to get to, we decided to skip that and get right into the interview. So ladies, are you ready to do this?
Let's go.
All right, let's go. I like it. Okay, so let's start with the basics for our viewers. Tell us a little bit about Douglas County PUD.
Great. Well, thanks for having us, Carrie. And I like to think that everybody in Douglas County knows who we are. But as a little refresher, we're a not-for-profit, publicly owned utility. We have 3 elected commissioners who set policy, rates, and direct the manager to do those policies. We're a smaller utility. We have about 200 employees, small but mighty, I like to say. With those 200 employees, we have a variety of topics that we'll talk about today, but just in general, we have a hydroelectric project, we have hatcheries, we have broadband, fiber optic system, we're venturing in on hydrogen, and I had one other topic that I'll probably remember later, but so we're here for our community. Like I said, with it being publicly owned, you elect those commissioners that set those policies. So we always have open public meetings twice a month. We post those agendas online. You can kind of see what we're up to, and then we post a recap after the meeting's done. But we always encourage people to be involved in that process.
Nice, nice. Okay, so I heard a rumor it's Public Power Week. So what does that mean? Yeah, jazz hands on that one.
Jazz hands for public power. Yeah. Right. So it's an opportunity, another educational opportunity for our customers. We are part of the 2,000 public power providers across the country that serve about 54 million customers. 54 million people are lucky enough to have public power. And it goes back to those basics that I was talking about earlier about local control and how, excuse me, that nonprofit status means that we aren't paying shareholders with those rates that our customers pay. We're investing that back into our utility, whether that be through operational improvements, equipment, employee training, anything that it costs for the utility to run, that comes from those rates. And so, again, it's a public entity, and we encourage people to be involved in that.
Nice. So what activities take place or outreach during Public Power Week?
Sure. So, since COVID, we haven't had as much office traffic. And I think that's good and bad. Good in that we've provided our customers a variety of ways to interact with us and pay their bill and communicate with us so that they don't have to come in the office. But the bad part about that is we don't get to see their smiling faces quite as much. But in office, we have some goodies, some little Douglas PUD trinkets that just kind of customer appreciation type things. And then online, we're featuring the benefits of public power. So on our Facebook page, we have posts about our employees, about how they're your neighbors and relatives here in town, and we have information about our hydrogen plant and our elected commissioners. And so it's more of an educational opportunity. And then if you're come on into the office, we'll give you a little trinket too.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love those things. Okay, so I know one of the things that we wanted to talk about also today was Wells Dam. It's a cornerstone of your operations. So can you share what makes it so special?
Sure. So Douglas PUD owns and operates the Wells Hydroelectric Project. A little old utility built that back in the 60s, which was a big deal, right? Um, we had to have partners in doing that. We had other power providers that partnered with us, helped us pay those costs. And we built this 840 megawatt run of river project back in the 60s. It has, at that time, it was actually the power from Wells Dam was more expensive than what we could buy from BPA. And so
Wow.
for a period there, we would purchase our power from BPA until those economics turned around. And now, as you can see, with rates around 3 cents, that's really a benefit to our customer owners. It's a unique project in that most hydro projects have a powerhouse side and a fish spill side. Wells Dam integrates that because of the bedrock and the width of the river. The engineers designed it so that it integrates those two functions in one straight structure. So it has a spillway, a generating unit, a spillway, and a generating unit. With that unique design, it actually is wonderful at fish passage, right? So those turbines are located at a depth lower than most hydro projects. Fish like to travel at the upper area of the water column. And so by using that unique design, having those turbine low, those fish already don't want to go through the turbines. They want to go through the spillways. Fish they like high velocities of water. It attracts them, it moves them through. It makes it easier and efficient for them to make their way from their natal waters down to the ocean where they're going to spend some time and come on back. But part of Wells Dam, we use blockades in our spillways on two parts of it. It's a 3-part spillway. So on 2 parts, we have them blocked. In the middle section, we have a grate system, and that creates a higher velocity of water because it's a smaller area that we're pushing that same amount of water through. So those fish are attracted to that higher flowing water, and they move just right on through. And our spillways, on some of them, we have these gates that just the top little flap moves down, and that allows them to move. We spill less than 10% of the river, and they safely pass the Wells project without any problems. And so we call it our juvenile fish bypass system. We're bypassing those turbines, and it really works well for us on our fish passage.
And just to clarify, that was all conceived and done in the 60s before all the fish studies and all the things.
Not quite. It was built that way.
Okay.
The bypass was done there in the 90s. It was tested
Okay.
and done in the 90s
Yeah.
to add that on.
Yeah, that's true.
The spillway configuration that we have.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for that clarification. So, okay, you mentioned a little bit that the fish can kind of flow freely thanks to the depths of the turbines. So, I know Douglas PUD also has some fish hatcheries. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
We do. We take environmental stewardship seriously. And so we have committed to different agencies and tribes that the Wells Project will not have any impact. We call it a no net impact on the survival standards of the fish in the river. And so we do this testing and studies each year where we pit tag these fish. It's about every 10-year study, but we tag these fish and we release them above and below the dam and up in the tributaries above the dam and time how long it takes them to make it past the project and see their mortality rates. And through that process, we've found that Wells Dam has great survival passage through the whole project, which includes the reservoir and down through the tail race. It's like 96, 97% for juveniles.
Wow.
It's really great. That no net impact means is that we need to make up for that little bit that there is mortality for project survival. And so through that, we use our hatcheries and then our other habitat improvement projects. The hatcheries, we have one here at Wells Dam. It's newly renovated, about a $40 million renovation to that facility, but that has a variety of programs that supplements the fish there in the river. And then we also have a hatchery up in Winthrop with similar or different projects. Now, with those hatcheries, another benefit of that and being neighboring public power providers, Chelan and Grant PUD also partner with us in those hatcheries with the excess capacity. So rather than having redundant programs or redundant hatcheries, we're able to help each other out, raise fish, and then that's a benefit for all the customer owners here in Chelan, Douglas, and Grant County.
Yeah, that's excellent. I actually was going to lead into a question about that, but you answered it. And I'm a Grant County PUD since I live out in Grant County, so that's good to hear and good to know. So, okay, well, you mentioned this in your first answer. You talked about kind of stepping into hydrogen. So let's talk a little bit about that. So you've got a new hydrogen plant. What can you tell us?
Well, let's see. You can't talk about hydrogen without talking about our wells project. So I
Okay.
would like to try to tie those two together for your listeners.
Let's do
So
it.
I mentioned that Douglas PUD or Wells Dam is an 840 megawatt hydro project. We use some of that power in county and we sell the rest on long-term contracts, the generation. Now, when we do have surplus power, such as in the spring, when other renewables like wind and solar are in abundance also, that sun is shining, the wind is blowing, the snowpack is melting. So you have a lot of generation, you have a lot of resource, but you have pretty mild temperatures, right? So people aren't heating, they aren't cooling, and so our load is low. Well, we've got all this generation and not a lot of load. And that creates a problem because we don't have a lot of storage. We can't hold that water back. We don't want to spill that water because it's harmful for fish. And so the idea behind the hydrogen plant was rather than paying someone to take our power, because those prices are so diminished because there's no demand for it, rather than paying someone to take that power or spilling it and harming fish, which we're not allowed to do, we could have our own load, this electrolyzer, hydrogen electrolyzer. So we could put that energy into this other process that creates its own renewable or not renewable, carbon-free energy, right? Yeah. So that does take a lot of power. We're just finishing up here. It should be the first part of 2025. We should be in production. We've been in the process since 2019. In 2019, we went to the legislature and asked for permission to produce, distribute, and sell renewable hydrogen. PUDs are only allowed to do what's in state statute. And so we had to get the permission from the legislature to do that. And so that was 2019, and it was unanimous support. The legislature is all about green energy, so everybody was on board with that. So we were able to get that legislation passed, broke ground, COVID hit, supply and materials were problematic. Permitting people here in Douglas County and the region aren't familiar with hydrogen. And so getting everybody comfortable with that process and what safety standards need to be in place and building codes and that sort of thing has been a process. But like I said, we're running up on the finish line here in the first part of 2025 to be able to produce our own hydrogen. And by just the fact of that we have Wells Dam, we have renewable, green, clean hydropower. We're also located in an area here in central Washington that's kind of a transmission hub. We're connected to Grant and Chelan and BPA, and so we're able to bring in other renewable resources, hopefully at when they're at lower prices. And so we'll be able to use that whole mix of renewable power to produce this hydrogen at hopefully a cost that's equal to or less than, like if you're going to use it as a transportation fuel, than your tank of gasoline. So that's the goal. We're also building a fueling station here in the East Wenatchee facility on Valley Mall Parkway. We'll have 4 EV fast charging stalls, and then hydrogen fueling for small and mid-sized cars. I fully understand that right now it's just like the few Toyota Mirais that Douglas PUD has in their fleet that they got donated from Toyota. I would be the only transportation fueling doing it. But I have actually surprisingly talked to some customers who have moved here from California with their hydrogen car, and it's just been sitting in their garage waiting to be fueled. So they might be one of our first outside customers.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so I want to
Oh,
backtrack
you
a
know what?
little. Go
Can
ahead.
I continue on that thought? I'm sorry, a little sporadic. There was more reasons why we did the hydrogen fuelings production plant. So also, when we talk about our generating units, right now we're in the middle of an overhaul, rebuilding all of those. It's the plant has been in process over the Wells project has been since the 60s, and so it's time to rebuild those generating units. They're all big mechanical pieces, right? And they wear out. We start and stop them often because we get these signals from the grid to balance everything out. So those machines are starting and stopping, and that provides a lot of wear and tear on them. And so the idea is, rather than have those signals go to these big mechanical moving pieces at the dam, that would be able to send those signals to the electrolyzer that could ramp up and down. And it's not a mechanical process. It's just merely power in, hydrogen out type of a deal. And so that's hopefully, as we get a little larger scale, if this hydrogen thing is economical for our customers, if we expand our production, that we would be able to provide a little bit of a buffer to that Wells project to send those signals to. About the production site, we talked about we have one right now, one electrolyzer, 5 megawatts. That would produce 2 tons of hydrogen a day at full capacity, which would be about enough to fuel 300 to 400 small and mid-sized cars. There's also other uses of hydrogen. The facility out there in Baker Flats has the property is able to accommodate up to 80 megawatts of electrolyzers, and also bulk fueling out there. So the idea is that Douglas PUD primarily will be more of a wholesale provider of hydrogen, that companies would come and fill up tube trailers there at the production site and haul it away. There's uses in ag, there's uses in industrial processes, and then we also talked about transportation fuel.
Yeah. So would that hydrogen all stay in North Central Washington, or would you be able to sell that, all around, all over?
Right. So it's wherever anybody wants to truck it from.
Okay.
And like I said, Douglas PUD doesn't want to be really in the business of taking it places, but that people can send their trucks, pick it up, and then out they go.
Yeah, I may be mistaken, but I believe we have an aerospace company in Grant County. Yeah, who is using hydrogen. So wow, this is great. I love how this all ties in together. So thank you.
Yeah, and hydrogen's not new. I mean, some people are hesitant about it, but it's not new. The difference that Douglas PUD is doing is this whole no carbon associated with it, the whole life cycle of it, with using renewable power, a PEM electrolyzer, and then as your uses, there's no carbon associated with any process of it.
Yeah, it's so exciting. This entire season is about the clean energy, renewable energy, and it's just I'm learning a lot. So I've got to believe that our viewers are as well. So thank you for that. So I'd like to switch gears a little bit, if I may, and kind of turn my focus to Shauna and say, I checked out the website before we did started the interview. So to switch gears and talk a little bit about workforce opportunities. I see on the website that you're already taking applications for summer 2025 interns. The NCSD, we're all about internships and apprenticeships. So would you mind sharing with us a little bit about that program?
Sure. And I expect that we'll have more student positions, kind of around February, March, time too. But these particular ones at intern level are really designed for students who are, focused in certain areas, engineering, accounting, and natural resources, initially. And, that they've taken some courses in those fields. So those positions are really, they can come in and, get working on projects right with the people who do these jobs. So for example, if you're a mechanical engineering student, you might be assigned, some safety projects, making some of the physical, things like safety railings, designing and working with, staff members to implement those things. Natural resources, you're almost doing field technician type work, when they're out doing fish studies, so collecting data, all very applicable to their specific fields.
Yeah. So just to clarify for anybody watching, this is really more college interns, not necessarily high school.
These particular ones are college interns. Later on, we'll post more student trainee type positions that, might be suitable for somebody in technical school, and that kind of
Excellent.
stuff.
Are there any opportunities for high school students to come in and do maybe a job shadow that lasts, maybe it's a couple hours, maybe it's a day? Is that an opportunity that's available?
Yep, they just need to call us. So we do that a lot of times, maybe riding along with the linemen, for, and individuals who are interested in kind of exploring that field. We've had people job shadow in our natural resources department. Yeah, we're open to that.
Good, good.
Can
All
I
right.
also plug that we partner with other utilities around and do a summer camp kind of, we call it the FWE STEM Academy. It's the Foundation for Water and Energy Education Academy, and it's a week-long opportunity for high school students to experience all different aspects of careers in public power. So they spend a day at Chelan PUD, a day at Grant PUD, a day at Douglas PUD, and we talk about different career opportunities that we have that not all kids think about whenever they think
Right.
about they see linemen. That's our biggest face in the public, right? But there's a lot of people. I mean, Shauna's got 200 people that do all those roles in those projects that we talked about, and so it's a great opportunity for that's kind of our high schooler outreach too, is that academy. It's usually in mid to late June.
It's
Okay, so
partnering with different, schools, and I'm working with the ESD currently. So we have our hatcheries programs, are interested in, kind of exposing students in the area to what they do. And so they've been working with the smaller school districts that don't have their own CTE
yeah,
programs to kind of bring students in. So.
yeah. So if I'm a teacher or a student who's watching this, do I go directly to your website to learn more about that? Or is that on the Chamber of Commerce? Where would I find information about that week?
I think calling directly
Okay.
to the PUD, we'd be happy to talk to you.
Okay, excellent. Well, I knew this was going to happen. We're winding down, and I want to check in. We've got another question that I'd like to ask. So I just want to keep track of everybody's time, but we talked a little bit about the student interns, but what about other workforce opportunities? Is there anything happening at Douglas County that's, in terms of new employment, new opportunities, or would you also maybe consider talking about what are some of the main skills or qualifications that you're looking for? Oftentimes our students, they're not really aware that being punctual is important, not just to class, but to a career. So what kind of things are you looking for there?
Okay, so as far as new opportunities, I don't know that we have a lot of new different kinds of opportunities, but we have about 140 different types of jobs that we do already. And so we are already from craft positions, mechanics out at the dam, electricians, things like that, to professional positions in accounting and biology and things like that. So job skill specific, that can be very varied, you know. So in addition to those technical skills somebody might be pursuing, we are looking for more of the soft skills, communication and teamwork. One I love is curiosity when we're interviewing people, because things are changing so much and we really need people to take ownership and learn, be self-learners and self-motivators.
I love that. We talk a lot about soft skills and career connected learning. And so when you call out specific ones, especially like curiosity, that's not one I hear all the time, but I love that. And it's really important for our students to hear it. And also the entire conversation where you're talking about the scope of careers that are available at the PUD. That's not often thought about. Like you said, you know, oh, I see the lineman, but you know, I don't want to work for the PUD because I don't want to do that. Well, wait a minute. We have jobs in all these other categories. So I appreciate you mentioning that. And we'll keep working. We'll keep working with the students on all those soft skills. So
Appreciate it.
yeah, good. So, okay, is there anything else that you want to talk about and share out that maybe we haven't covered yet? Either one of you, if
Do you have anything, Shauna? I was going to have a couple fun facts about Douglas PUD that I didn't put in my intro if you want.
yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so I'm, you know, numbers are kind of fun to me, a little geeked out there, but so we talked about our 3 elected commissioners. We have about 22,000 meters. We serve all of Douglas County, which is 1,800 square miles.
Okay.
In that 1,800 square miles, we have 162 miles of power lines, or that's transmission lines, and 1,300 miles of distribution line. So that's a lot of line to maintain. About 9,500 transformers. So those are going to be what serve those individual residences. We have 18 substations and 21,000 poles. So, you know, wildfire, road projects, you know, we're always replacing those or moving them for different things. And so that's a lot to keep track of. We also have about 1,500 miles of fiber optic line, which we really didn't touch much in this conversation, but that is another area that we started small. We went to the rural areas of Douglas County to give them an option for high-speed internet on fiber optic network. And we were building our network just for our own facilities so that we would have that communication opportunities. And then because of the nature of fiber optics, you have such an abundance that we were able to share it with our customers. Now, we aren't able to sell it directly to them. They have to go through a service provider. But on our website, they can check to see if they're serviceable. And we've covered vastly almost all of Douglas County. There's some pockets here and there in canyons that we're still working on getting to. But there's no connection fee from Douglas PUD to sign up for it. And, you know, that gives you access to a broadband network that is kind of second to none, you know, even in big cities. So Grant PUD does the same. They're out there in Grant County, and Chelan has a robust system too. So again, go public power, because we're doing these things that are beneficial to our customers.
Yeah, well, and we all appreciate it. I will say I'm out in the boonies of George, so I don't quite have that yet. Right before we were logging on, right, I was turning off other appliances to make sure that there was no Wi-Fi draw, so so we didn't drop. But it really is exciting, and I know we're about this close to it, even out here in George for my area. But I think it's pretty well covered. But we definitely appreciate everything that the PUDs are doing, you know, for our communities and for our kiddos. Since I'm very focused on the NCESD and our students. So I want to thank you both for taking the time out of your busy schedules to be here. Again, thank you for the work that you're doing, and glad to have you as our most valuable partner.
Hey, thanks so much for the time, Carrie.